Welcome to the Barcelona International Film Festival 2021 edition. My name is Sara Plasencia, and today we are gonna have an awesome talk with a VFX artist with film credits on films as Happy Feet 2, World War Z, Terminator, Game of Thrones, Joker, among others. And with this, I feel so happy to welcome Carolina Jimenez, BFX Spanish artist. Thank you very much for accepting this invitation, Carolina.
Thank you very much for having me, everyone. Good morning from Vancouver. How is everyone doing?
Thank you very much. We are so excited about your talk. You have an inspiring career, and we really want to learn from your experiences. So thank you again for this space. And please, I will leave you to go ahead with your talk. Thank you very much, dear Carolina.
Thanks for having me, everyone. As I said, and as I've been introduced this kindly, I'm Carolina Jimenez. I'm a Spanish VFX artist from Madrid, and right now I'm living and working in Vancouver, Canada. I've been living here for almost 6 years now. And Happy New Year, everyone! I hope everyone has a very normal year. Let's try and have a normal year. That's my best wish for you all. And it's an honor to be here with you all in the Barcelona International Film Festival. It's really an honor. And I'd like to talk to you about my experience a little bit in my career. And I think we also want to talk about a little bit about some of the new technologies that have been arising from the VFX industry and are being very popular around lately, like stagecraft and stuff like that. We can talk about that later. Please feel free to ask any questions, since we're just a few. There's only a few of us in this room, so feel free to interrupt and have a dialogue with me, so I don't feel like I'm just doing a monologue. It'll be great to have a dialogue with you all. So, well, as I was saying, I have over 10 years experience in the visual effects industry. I started my career in Spain, my home country, and I studied animation and 3D and post-production in my hometown in Madrid. And I worked on my first movie there. It was an animation movie. My first movies were in the animation field.
I want to ask you, dear Carolina, just to start with this talk. What is a layout artist? Can you explain us a little bit about this?
That's a good question, because when I started in this industry, I didn't know about the layout, what the layout department is, or what a layout artist is. So in the visual, let me start with some basics. I'm sure all of you know these things, but just in case, the basic differences between special effects and visual effects. Special effects are the effects that are made during filming. Usually when we technically talk about special effects, it's usually the practical effects that happening during filming in front of the camera, that include miniatures, include makeup, explosions, and all the real effects, touchable effects that happen during filmmaking in front of the actual camera. And visual effects, we usually talk about post-production, what happens after we film our film. And today it's usually digital, obviously. Back in the day, it was different. It was done more with chemical and photographic trickery, that were tricks that were done on the film, on the actual film after filming. And now we do it on a computer, which is what I do. The pipeline on a VFX studio, the pipeline, which is the workflow that happens on a VFX studio, it can be a little complex. There are a lot of different departments that work together, but we don't work all at the same time. It's usually we take turns to work. I wanted to share with you my screen for a moment so I can explain, because I need to go back here to explain what a layout artist is. Can you guys see this image I'm sharing with you? Okay, this is a little image that I did to show what the VFX pipeline looks like as a workflow inside of VFX Studio. Can you see my mouse? I don't think so. You can? Okay. So I have 3 columns. The first is the pre-production, everything that happens before shooting. And this is the production, the shooting that happens during the shooting. And this big box in green is the color of my profession, since chroma green is usually the color that represents the chroma studios, and then the color that we love to have to make our lives easier. So that's why this big box is green. So in the pre-production, there are some departments in the VFX pipeline that work already during the pre-production. It's important to have the VFX supervisor and some members of the VFX team already working hand in hand with directors and with filmmakers, and with in general all the art team involved. It's important to have VFX people involved in all the pre-production, because there are many decisions that need to be made during pre-production that are going to affect the visual effects afterwards. So we need to decide on pre-production what's going to be done digitally, what's going to be done practically, what the budget is going to be, where the money is going to go, to make sure that everything looks the best possible with the money we have, and hire the best team and all those things. That's why pre-production is important to have the VFX team involved in the pre-production. During production, it's also important to have the VFX supervisor at least present during production, during the filming. Especially, we're going to have scenes and sequences that are going to have heavy visual effects happening. If we're going to use chroma screens, green screens, and stuff like that, and tracking markers and all that, it's important to have the VFX supervisor present during the filming to make sure that all the markers are in the right place, that we have enough of them, that the green screens are well lit, and the cameras are well tracked, and all that. Doing those things properly during pre-production and the production is going to save us a lot of time and pain and money on post-production. So that's why it's important to have all those things clear before and during shooting. And these are some of the departments that are involved in those stages. We need reference photography during filming, because there are a lot of things after filming. As you guys know, everything that we've used usually is thrown away. So if we need references for colors, for shapes, for distances, for how everything is set up on set, it's important to have a good photographer, a good reference photographer from the VFX team, taking pictures of everything, just in case we have questions afterwards, to make sure that we have a visual reference of everything that happened during the shooting. So we have all the answers we need when questions arise, and they will arise. All the concept art, all the art department is involved during pre-production even, because they're the ones that are designing everything, every monster, every weapon, every background, all the style, the color palette, all those things need to start developed during pre-production and need to go through all the post-production. So the art team, the art department need to be present and working hard from the beginning, from the very beginning. And then we go to the actual VFX team, to the actual departments. Departments like 3D departments, we have 2 kind of departments, the 3D departments and the 2D departments. 3D departments are obviously all those departments that work on a 3D environment. They take, the first ones are modeling usually, because they take all those concept arts that the art department make. The art department draw everything, design everything on 2D. So the modeling department are going to take all those pictures and all those drawings, and they're going to turn them into 3D models. monsters and weapons and vehicles and houses and props. Everything that needs to be modeled is going to go through the modeling department. And sometimes they even start doing pre-production, obviously. As soon as they have art concept to work with, they can start their own work. We have the previous department. Is also an important department, a very important department, because they're going to turn the storyboard, the script into a storyboard, and the storyboard into a previs. Previs comes from pre-visualization, which is usually a 3D animated storyboard. That's really useful for all the departments that are coming to work on the post-production side of things, because it not only gives us the storyboard is very useful, obviously, but the previs is going to talk about movement. It's going to talk about timing, pacing, and all those stuff that we, especially layout, are going to need as reference for what we're going to build, because the layout department is going to be in charge of building a shot, of building the actual shot, and working with the digital cameras. So having very clear what the camera angles are, how the camera is going to move, and how everything is going to move, how long every shot is, how every shot talks to each other in movement and timing wise. It's also very important for us, and that's information that a storyboard cannot tell us. So the previous department are going to do like an animatic of the storyboard, and that's really, really useful because it's already directed by the director. The director is going to tell them even before filming how long he needs every shot, how he wants the camera to move, and how he wants to start staging the shots. So it's very useful and important. We have the shooting plate. The plate is the image that comes from the camera, from the digital cameras directly. So it's important for us as well, obviously, because it's the first part of the movie. And then we can jump into the actual VFX post-production. Rigging is the department that is going to add a rig into every model, into every 3D model that needs to move, especially characters. Everything that needs to move is going to need a rig, because animators cannot animate a character, for example, without a rig. The modeling department provides a model, a 3D model, to the rigging department that puts the rig in. The rig is some kind of skeleton that goes inside the character, and that's those bones, we call them bones or manipulators, are the actual things that animators are going to move, that are going to animate, and they are going to deform the 3D model properly. Every bone is gonna every part of the body is going to have a manipulator. And rigging, especially when it comes to facial rigging with faces that need to act, when we have a digital character that needs to act, it's really complex. The rigging for facial characters are really complex, because they have a manipulator for every muscle, or 2 or 3 manipulators for every muscle, so we can make sure that expressions are as realistic and as detailed as possible. Without a rigging, it doesn't matter how well made and how well crafted the model is. If we don't have a proper rig inside that model, it's impossible to animate. So it's a very crucial part of the of the post-production process. So then animators can later animate all those models. We also have an important part of the process is tracking and match move. They're tracking especially because they're going to take the plate, the image that was filmed on set or on location, and they're going to use those markers that we place during pre-production, and they're going to translate all that movement that the camera does into a 3D camera. The tracking department is going to provide layout, especially a digital camera that does exactly the same movement and that the camera did on stage. So that's important because we're going to remove everything that is green screen or blue screen, and we're going to add digital stuff. Digital stuff that includes environments and includes characters and includes everything that needs to be included. So if we don't have a proper track camera that does exactly the same as the camera during filming did, then things are going to slide against each other and the trick is going to be shown, and we don't want the trick to be seen. So it's really important to have a track camera that follows exactly what the camera during filming did. And that's the camera that the layout department is going to use as a starting point. In layout, we're in charge of building the shot, of moving the camera, of all the set dressing, the framing. All that is our job. We're going to take that tracking camera, we're going to take all the environment that are provided for modeling, and all the characters and the moving parts, moving assets provided by rigging as well, and we're going to build the shot with all that. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the framing is correct, composition is correct, the camera is moving and doing what the camera needs to do. Sometimes it matches exactly what the camera did on set, but a lot of times it doesn't. Sometimes we don't even have a tracking camera when it's a full CG shot, when we have a battle in space and we have spaceships battling each other among planets, that obviously there's no tracking camera. In those cases, the cameras hold full CG and the responsibility of moving the camera is 100% on layout. And sometimes it's half and half. Sometimes we have part of the plate for our shot and part CG camera, and we have to blend both things, the track camera that comes from the shooting and the digital camera, the exclusively digital camera afterwards. I can show you examples later if you guys want to see, but mainly that's our responsibility to make sure that the camera is doing what it needs to do, that everything that needs to be in front of the camera is there, and the composition and framing are correct, and all the set dressing is to the taste of the director. And what we pass to those other departments that come after us is all those things in place, and mainly the camera. And we also do an animation blocking, which means that everything that moves within the shot, we're going to move it. We're not going to do detail animation because that's the responsibility of the animation department, but we need to do an animation blocking, which means we call it chess piece blocking, which means that we're going to move things from point A to point B in the right speed, let's say. So everything then, because that's going to affect the framing, obviously. So everything that's going to affect the framing is on us. So that basic animation that we do is what the animation department are going to use as reference. We're going to tell them that this character needs to move from here to here at this speed and in this position inside the framing. And then the animation department are going to animate all the fingers and faces and all the details that we don't. That's what they do. Animation like hair and fur and clothes, all that stuff, it's not so much animated as it is simulated. So that's going to be responsibility of the FX department. The FX department is very wide, and they're in charge of things like destruction and fire, smoke, water simulation, hair simulation, fur simulation, all the things that need to be simulated as opposed to be animated is going to be done on the FX department. And they're in charge of all those things, and explosions and fog and all those things. They have their special tools to do all that. So they don't animate bone by bone as they do in the animation department. They're more of a simulation department than an animation department. But they're crucial, obviously, especially when we are talking about action movies and superhero movies and stuff like that, where things break and things explode all the time. So they're very crucial. And here's where, when we go from the 3D departments to the 2D, to the more 2D departments, and we get into the 2D world, because everything that comes out of lighting, obviously they're the ones that light everything, they put lights in everything. In the texture department, they texture everything to have the proper textures and colors. Then they're going to generate and pass along not 3D elements, but 2D elements, which means they're going to render their stuff, and they're going, and the result of their work is going to be frames, not 3D elements. So all those frames are already 2D. So the next department is like matte painting as well. You all know what a matte painting is. They're all going to work in 2D as well. And the composition department, the compositing department, or comp, like we tell them, they're going to take all those 2D elements, they're renders already, so they're frames in 2D, and they're going to put everything together in layers, sometimes thousands of them, and they're going to blend them together to make sure that everything looks the way it should. So they're going to take renders from render passes from effects, which can be hundreds of them, depending on how complex and how many effects the shot has. They're going to take the lighting passes. Lighting is going to look through the layout camera, and they're going to have all the elements that layout and animation put in front of the camera. They're going to render with the proper lighting. Also a lot of 2D renders, and all those renders, including the matte painting, are going to go to the comp department, and they're going to put everything together. They're going to make a beautiful sandwich with everything. They're going to do a final render that is going to be almost the final movie that goes out of the VFX world into coloring, soundtrack, and all that before the movie is done. So this is an overall schematic of how the VFX pipeline works, and that's what layout does. That's what a layout artist does. I like the layout department very much because it's one of the departments is more, we have to be good generalist. We have to do a little bit of everything. We need to do a little animation, a little texturing, a little lighting, because sometimes we put basic textures and basic lighting into the shots we're building, because we need to show our shots to the director, and they need to be approved by the director directly. So not all directors are comfortable seeing gray renders or not lit renders. So a lot of times we put basic textures and basic lighting, so we can sell, let's say, we can sell the idea of the shot and what we have in mind. So we make it easier for the director to imagine how those shots are going to finally look. So we do a little bit of everything, a little bit of animation, texturing, lighting, and it's in the 3D, in the digital world, is the closest to take the camera and film a movie. So it's the most cinematic department inside the VFX world. So that's one of the reasons why I love it so much, because it's all the storytelling, the cinematic language, and the storytelling heart of what VFX does. It's on us, because obviously things like staging or framing are crucial, or camera movement are crucial when you're trying to tell a story in cinema. So that's why I like it so much, because there's not 2 days are the same, and we do many little things, and that's lots of fun for me, I find. And I don't know if there are questions, because I threw a lot of information to you guys at once. So feel free to ask things.
Thank you, Carolina. It is amazing. We got actually some questions over here. How did you start in your career? How did you start in those big films?
Well, I was in love let me go back to you like this. I was in love with filmmaking and with cinema since I was a little kid, but I never thought that I could work on films. For me, films were worlds I could go and travel for a couple hours and dream about. But I never thought it was going to be a profession for me. So when I started trying to find what I wanted to do as a professional, I wanted something that involved technology, because I also love technology since I was a little kid, and some artistic side that had some artistic and creative side. And the only thing I could find by default was architecture, because it involves both things as well, technical stuff and artistic stuff. So I started architecture in college, but I was not loving it because I chose it by default. It's an amazing profession, but I was not loving it. But thanks to architecture, I started to have contact with the animation tools, animation programs, and software, because we were modeling our projects in class, not only physically with models or drawing, but we started doing it on computer graphics as well. And that's where the first time I came in contact with 3D and animation software, and I loved it. I remember spending 20 minutes in whatever project I needed to do for school, and then hours and hours and long nights without sleeping, just building monsters and spacecrafts and planets and all that stuff. That was real fun for me, but it was just fun until I watched the documentaries on the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings, the first movie that came out, Lord of the Rings, with all those documentaries that showed more in detail than I had ever seen before how movies are made. And I fell in love with the behind the scenes, because right now it's easy to go on YouTube and see how movies are done and see documentaries like that. But back then I hadn't seen all that many. And when I saw those documentaries of people explaining with enthusiasm how they were making the movies I loved, and especially when they went to the digital part of the movie making, and I saw that they were using a very similar software than the one I just recently discovered, then I realized that you could make movies using a computer, and that's when I realized that's what I wanted to do. So I quit architecture. I didn't finish it, and I found an animation and a 3D school in Madrid, and I that's how I decided to do what I'm doing now. And I had to work hard, obviously, to start working in movies, and I started doing some advertising, and then TV, and then finally I had my chance to work on a movie in Spain for the first time, and then I could work overseas where the movies I love were made. And I've lived in Australia and New Zealand, in London, and now in Canada. I've been chasing the work I love to do around the globe, and that's basically it.
That's amazing, Carolina. We got another questions over here. It says, I love your work. How do you set up a scene, and how do you know what is possible and what is not? Thank you very much.
Everything is possible. It's digital. One of the good things about the digital world is that, as opposed to architecture, I learned that very quickly, is that houses don't fall on digital world. So you don't have to calculate all the stuff that we needed to calculate for architecture. Almost everything is possible. But how we set a shot, we, as I explained before, we need to have all the elements, all the 3D elements that need to be part of the shot. We have our references with our, usually the previs that is provided for us. And we have the director's direction as well, and indications of what they need to, that he wants or she wants to have in the shot. And we have our briefings, and we have the script at our hand if we need it, because we need to know what kind of story we're telling. And with all those elements, we bring the track camera into Maya, which is the software that we use the most in 3D world. And we bring all those elements, and the keying department provides us of a plate that has all the green screen removed already, so we don't see all the green that's happening and that happened during shooting. So we can include all those elements. So we need the camera track, we need the clean keyed plate, and we need all the elements provided by modeling and rigging. And with all that, we build our shots and we send our work. We show our work to the VFX supervisor daily on our daily meetings every day. And once the VFX supervisor approves our work, because he or she thinks that it's ready to show the director, then we show the director and we wait for either the director's notes on what to change or the director approval. Once the shots are approved by director, then we can move on. In those shots, we publish the camera and all the elements in the right place, and we pass that information to all the departments that are going to come after us, which are basically animation and lighting and effects. And they can use that camera, the layout camera, not the tracking camera, the layout camera, to look through and do their work using that camera. It's important because they need to only work on the camera view. That saves a lot of time, it saves a lot of resources, because they only light what the camera looks at, and all the effects only need to be simulated inside the framing that the layout camera does. So it saves a lot of time, and a lot of rendering time, especially because rendering takes a lot of time. So we need to make sure that we provide a framing that is going to let them minimize resources and time.
Thank you, Carolina. We have here a question from Kate. But we have here Kate. So Kate, if you can go ahead with your questions, it will be amazing. Thank you very much.
I just wondered, and thank you, it's really interesting what you've been saying. I work mostly in lower budget indie movies, and I wondered, I mean, I sometimes think, you know, that the people make the best effort they can to do some special effects themselves, but they don't look so good. I mean, I just wondered, is there any common mistakes people fall into when they are doing things on a budget? They're trying to do effects on a budget.
We have to keep in mind that everyone does the best they can with what they have. That's on the special effects or in visual effects. And we live in an era right now that when not long ago, visual effects were only affordable for the big budgets and big studios. But right now, special effects and visual effects can be done almost with a phone. Right. The technology has advanced so much that we can do certain things that don't look too bad with a laptop, with a personal computer at home. Obviously, the more we prepare and the better we shoot our movie, and the better prepared we are from pre-production, the easier it's going to be to have proper visual effects afterwards. So right. when you're filming on a budget, it's important to keep in mind to have very clear what's going to be practical and what's going to be digital from the beginning. Whatever is going to be digital needs to having someone from the visual effects industry to help you light your green screens, place the tracking markers in the right place, and help you with lighting. It's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of time afterwards, because the better it's shot, the easier it's going to be afterwards. Because there's certain things, it happens even on big budget like us, like the movies we work on, when it's not well shot, sometimes it's impossible to work with. So having everything clear from the beginning and having someone help you, someone that knows about this stuff, help you set everything, is going to save time and money. And some of the mistakes that are made during shooting are usually when the green screens are not well lit, when the tracking markers are not well placed. We need the tracking markers to be, the more the better. In a way, it's better to have too much than too few, and it's important to have them at different distances from the camera. If you have all the tracking markers at the same distance of the camera on a wall in the background, it's going to be very difficult for the tracking software to track those markers. So it's important to have them at different distances, so we create parallax when the camera moves. And that's that parallax, which is the difference, the different speeds that those markers are going to move in relation to each other when you look through the camera. That's the information that the tracking software is going to use to track that camera and provide a quality track camera. So you don't need much, only that orange tape, and tape your trackers, your markings in the right positions to make sure that then you can use their even free software, open free software that does these things very well. So today is you can do some visual effects that look good. I'm not going to say perfect, but good, and on a budget. And I personally always think that it's better to have okay effects on a great story than a not so good story with perfect effects. I always think that a film, any kind of film, any budget, it's a story that needs to connect with the audience. So when you have a good story that is it's very well told, that takes you places and makes you feel things and makes you think, with okay effects, I forgive the effects 100%. I don't care. When it's the other way around, when you have a great budget and perfect effects, but the story is like, blah, then, so I think the story is always the most important thing. And obviously we all want the perfect effects on our movies. And today is not that difficult. Just make sure that you have someone answering your questions, because answering questions is cheap and making decisions before shooting is much cheaper than trying to fix those things in post-production after shooting. That's way more expensive. So having things clear and taking time beforehand, usually is going to give you much better results.
Thank you very much. That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Also, we have here a comment from Floris. I want to say hi to Floris. How are you?
Well, thank you. It wasn't really, I don't really have a question, but that was very nice. Thank you for the introduction. I just mentioned that I was relating a lot to your story of how you started your career. I also had the interest in technology and art. I ended up going towards concept art. And actually, I was a visual effects concept artist. Did you say that you worked on Game of Thrones? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So I did many seasons, like concept art.
I worked on the 8th season, and the last season
worked on
only.
the same thing.
Maybe we're together in the credits.
Okay. It's possible. It's possible. Anyway, so no question, but I relate a lot to your story, so that's very nice. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carolina. We have also another question here that says, also, which softwares do you recommend for VFX and 3D modeling? Do you guys have your own software at Scanline?
Different departments have different softwares, because every department has their speciality, but mostly on the 3D world, on the 3D side of things, we usually use Maya. The main software that we all use professionally is Maya. There are many other softwares, 3D softwares, that do similar things, basically the same things as Maya does, like 3D Studio Max or Cinema 4D, or Blender. Blender is a 3D free software that is also useful, very useful. We don't use those on VFX Studios, but I know a lot of people that have done short films and even great effects using all those because they're basically doing the same kind of work. So Maya is mainly the software that I use. Other departments like FX or comp, they use different softwares like Houdini for effects or Nuke for compositing. Those are mainly the two softwares used more on the 2D side of VFX Studio, but there are plenty of them. There are many of them, and there are other softwares used especially for different departments, like ZBrush, for example, for modeling is very useful as well because it's a digital sculpting software. So modeling use that a lot. So, but it's mainly Maya. And in Skyline and I cannot speak about what we do specifically in Skyline because it's all secret, you guys know. But every studio uses this big softwares, and then they include modifications, small modifications that are made by our programming departments, and they script and they modify this softwares so the software does more specifically what we need them to do in the studio. So it's usually how it works.
Thank you, Carolina. What has been the most difficult challenge that you have been facing in your career?
Personally and professionally, I would say it was moving to New Zealand to be part of the Hobbit trilogy team, because being the Lord of the Rings, one of the movies, mainly the movie that inspired me into going into the visual effect world and trying to work in the movie industry. I bugged the Weta team for years, sending them my resume and my portfolio over and over until they finally answered me, and I had my opportunity to go work with them, and leaving everything behind and moving out of my comfort zone and getting out of Spain and moving for over 3 years to New Zealand to work on those 3 movies, not just 1, but 3, with the same team that inspired me in the first place many years back to do what I do. I remember being scared, being really nervous, and being so far away from home, and working with new language, new software, and in such big movies, because usually a movie today is not made by one studio. If you see the credits on a movie, there are many studios involved in one movie. If you see the big Marvel movies or the fantasy and action movies, we usually work by sequence. There's not one studio doing all the effects on one movie. But on the Hobbit, though, that was not the case, because all the effects were done in New Zealand, because Peter Jackson owns Weta, and he likes everything to be done in New Zealand. So it was all done by the same team, and it was not 1 movie but 3 movies. So it was a lot of work, a lot of work. And I learned a lot, and I suffered a lot, and I enjoyed it a lot, but it was quite a challenge.
Thank you, Carolina. We know you have a very busy schedule. So before to finish, I just want to ask you, what is coming in next for Carolina Jimenez in this 2021?
The vaccine, I'm hoping. Like everyone else, let's get vaccinated so we can go back to normal, and we can do this thing that we're doing now online. We can do it live, and we can hug each other again. So that's my main hope for this year, is that we can go back to a new normal, I'm assuming, and I hope that we're all healthy and safe, and we can fight this together. So please be safe and be cautious and get vaccinated, because I want to hug you all. And other than that, keep working, and I'm in teaching, because I love teaching and talk about what I do, and I write articles, and I do YouTube videos explaining what I do, and Twitter threads, and I'm going to write a book as well on VFX. So many good things are going to happen, hopefully, in the future, but let's get vaccinated first. So that's my blog where I tell my things, my YouTube channel, and I'm also on Twitter doing threads and explaining stuff on VFX and filmmaking, and also my email in case any of you have any questions that we can answer here. Feel free to reach out to me, and it's been a pleasure and an honor to be part of this and being with you all brave filmmakers. I know how hard it is to make a film. So any of you trying are already super brave. Congratulations, and keep making art and making people feel things, because we need it.
Thank you very much, and thank you as well to all our amazing filmmakers for joining us today in this amazing conference. My name is Sara Plasencia, and this is the Barcelona International Film Festival, the Independent Awards. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.